My name is Tucker Hazel. Today, I'm joined by a couple bubs. Tanner Extra and Buhner. Today, we're here to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, the only MCU movie this year.
That's right.
Which is kind of crazy.
Really?
But, yeah, we didn't see any, and there's not any more coming out.
I figure there probably is.
No.
That's the numbers.
There's always one coming out.
We saw the trailer for the next one, which is Captain America New World Order. No, Brave New World.
Yep.
Yeah, they
both
changed
bad
that
titles for
Moving
different
on.
reasons.
Anyway, this is the only MCU movie this year, and now we've seen it, and it was a cinematic event of the summer.
That's right.
And we're here to give you our thoughts on it. But of course, if you have seen this movie, which it's pretty likely that you have / will, you can join our Discord to talk to us about it. Talk to us about the cameos, about the sex jokes, about the butt jokes, about the dick jokes. We're gonna be talking about all those here today.
Bone jokes.
Bone jokes.
I want to start with special guest David Buhner.
Oh.
Guest in your own home, guest in your own abode. How do you feel about Deadpool and Wolverine?
So I really liked it.
Okay.
Now I didn't expect to, because I don't really like Deadpool.
Okay.
What about Wolverine?
I do like Wolverine,
Hey, there you go.
but I've not seen
50-50 shot.
I've not seen most of his movies.
Yeah.
So going to the film, I have to admit I had a half-star expectations in my head.
Okay.
To me, we're getting a half-star film.
Wow.
Walking
All
at
right.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
All right.
But to me, it wasn't that. Whether it was, I think it was a cocktail of those little expectations, but also what I felt was like a surprisingly meaningful film. And I mean meaningful just in that I felt like there was intent behind it. Whereas I sort of reflect back on what Deadpool and Deadpool 2 are in my mind, because I've not seen them in many years. To me, they're just like this big goop. You know, they're like gruel.
Oh,
They're like gruel that make prison wallet jokes, right?
Right. Yes.
But I found a lot more heart in this film, and I think it's due in large part to including Wolverine, which I think was the smartest choice they could have possibly made. And while I think that the humor is mostly miss when it does hit, and we'll get to it, it's very good. So on the whole, I was quite surprised by Deadpool and Wolverine.
Sure.
Yeah, I have to agree on pretty much all of that. I was looking forward to this movie, just like, oh yeah, it's coming. But this is my first time going into an MCU movie since I've just kind of started feeling like, I'll see him.
Yeah.
I've lost my sauce, which is unfortunate.
A bit of a malaise has washed even over us.
But I do think that when I sat down and watched this movie, and from the first scene I was smiling, it carried its momentum. I think it has some great jokes in it. I think the choreography is great. I think the performances from our two leads is great. I think that their timing is good. I think that it's a surprisingly focused film in terms of there's not a ton of extraneous plot lines and stuff. And so I think it's a very interesting part of the MCU in that it's actually more of a end to the Fox series of films than it is a big MCU event film. And I find that to be pretty compelling. And I think, again, that's part of what keeps this film a little more focused in my mind. So I just had a great time. I was smiling, and there was some moments of like editing and some moments of jokes that I thought didn't work. But on the whole, I was just having a good time throughout.
Yeah. On the whole, what kind of hole? That's kind of a joke that Deadpool would make.
Yeah, wouldn't he?
On
the whole.
On the whole, I would say that I didn't care for Deadpool and Wolverine, but I also didn't hate it. That's my main thing. It's not the worst thing in the world like many people are going to be saying it is. Many contrarians who are not amongst the normies, they're going to be saying worst movie of the year, can't believe it, catastrophic, whatever. I didn't think it was that. I have my qualms with it, but at the same time, I felt ultimately I found it just kind of middling at the end of the day. Again, Abram, we were talking about like the ratio of jokes. I'd say about 30% of them landed for me. A specific kind that I want to get into, I felt always kind of worked for me. I find myself being sort of distracted by what this film is saying about the superhero genre, because obviously that's something that Deadpool has always been engaged in.
Yeah.
Poking fun at the genre, poking fun at the fact that he knows he's in a superhero movie. And as the reputation of superhero movies has ebbed and flowed since the last Deadpool movie came out, there's a lot of material to cover here, and I think that it engages with some of that and doesn't engage with more. At the same time, however, I thought Ryan Reynolds was good. I was actually quite surprised, or not surprised, but like quite entranced by how good Hugh Jackman was. He's still maintaining the heart of this character 20 plus years, and the physique, most importantly. Most importantly, 20 plus years later. The choreography, the fights where I was surprisingly entertained by. I thought they were, surprisingly well done. Having, action being a sort of shortcoming in some recent MCU entries and stuff
sure.
like that. So yeah, I'm excited to get into specific elements of this film and as to what I thought worked and what I thought didn't. But I'm kind of middle of the road right now in terms of positives and negatives, potentially more negatives.
What's that sort of spoiler protocol?
That's a
what's
good
the
point.
Oh, I think we just go into spoilers.
Just full spoilers?
Because anyone who's interested in watching this video, I've probably seen the movie.
Yeah,
already.
I mean, this is you saw the timestamp on this one. We probably are going a bit long on this, so we're just gonna do full spoilers.
And it's also it's a middle.
Yeah, you get two thumbs up, one thumbs down.
Yeah.
This is really what this is the return of the Untitled Mother Project.
That's right.
Welcome back, UMP.
Really, it is. Yeah.
Long live UMP. Abram,
Yeah.
take us in a direction.
I really don't understand what the TVA is.
Okay.
You know what?
Did you watch
That's
Loki?
very fair.
No.
Okay.
He's never seen any of this shit.
I don't know what any of
that
this
checks
is.
Oh wait, except for Miss Marvel. We watched Miss Marvel together.
We did.
Is TVA in that?
No,
Nope.
it's not.
Oh.
But do you want me to explain it?
No.
I know.
Okay.
Here's my point.
The Time Variance Authority.
This movie is in an interesting place where it's concerned with so much that requires a lot of intrinsic knowledge.
Mhm.
And I think a strength
Yeah.
of this film is that I didn't feel like I needed it in the same way that, like, I think it was when I was watching the Marvels. So, like, I don't.
That was
fucking-
a
I don't have
big
any
complaint
clue
with
what's
the
going
Marvels.
on.
Yeah.
I think that this film is encumbered by that, but I think every movie that has like has a mother box or a boom cube or whatever the fuck is
A
encumbered by it.
time ripper.
A time ripper. But I think that this film effectively knows where its bread is buttered and also knows where it's not.
Sure.
So ultimately, the TVA, whatever the fuck that is, it is just an effective conceit to get a bunch of characters together.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean that is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It is. This film is not concerned at all with like, okay, so he does say that he talks about what's the dragon?
Paradox? No, Eliath.
Eliath, yes.
Yes.
Eliath from Loki season 1, episode 5, which I
Yes.
thought was pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny.
But it's not like especially concerned with like, okay, so the TVA is this and this is what
Yeah.
they do. It's light on its feet because it needs to keep moving. This is just a hair over 2 hours.
Definitely doesn't overstay its welcome, and I
No.
think it moves at a good pace, which is I think why I want to say again why I think this movie is surprisingly focused. I mean, there was so much opportunity to include. We're bringing back a villain from this other movie here that is gonna like take over things in the end, or we're gonna try to bring in TVA politics and things from Loki, and then like have that storyline like intersect halfway through, and then the timelines could have like merged, in the MCU universe that we know is merging with the Deadpool one. They talked about the TVA as you were saying, like a plot point, like just kind of the catalyst for things. Like, yeah, okay, timeline stuff. That's really all you need to know. That TVA is concerned with timeline stuff. Timelines can end. That's it. And that keeps this movie feeling surprisingly small. It's really about Deadpool and Wolverine trying to save Deadpool's universe because his friends and family are there, and he wants to make sure that they don't disappear and add some meaning to his life because he's kind of had a midlife crisis, sort of. And then let's get out of the void and let's get back to the universe and let's stop it. And I think that how focused this movie is really surprised me.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much opportunity for this to become kind of what I thought Multiverse of Madness was, where it's just like it's just all over the place. This was, I mean, it's kind of a road trip movie almost.
I feel like we're kind of swinging in the pendulum swinging in the opposite direction though, where we've pared it down. There are not extemporaneous or extraneous plot lines in this, but I felt like the pacing still wasn't there for the story.
Okay.
Like there's a moment where Matthew McFadden as Paradox comes back in and it's like, oh yeah. That he's like an important part of this movie.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, he drops out for probably a good hour of this film. Yeah. And you're like, oh, yeah, and then we have to like swing back into Deadpool's universe at the end to save things, because a lot of this is like we're in the void, or AKA the cameo zone. For an hour plus, probably like an hour 20 minutes of this movie. Mm-hmm. And so for that reason, I felt like the pacing wasn't all there.
Sure.
There's a reveal halfway through that like Pyro is in cahoots with Paradox.
That
It was
barely
like,
matters.
okay, so that's how we're tying these things back in, and like Cassandra Nova has a sort of feud with Paradox, and like it all seems very loose. It's kind of two ideas kind of just hooked together in a couple ways.
Like they're holding hands, like a friendship bracelet.
Like a friendship-based kind of way.
It's focused in the way that like somebody with ADHD who takes Adderall is focused.
Sure.
Like it's not. This is.
It's
not,
tenuous at best.
There's an underlying issue.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
And I agree with Tanner. I mean, I was kind of getting a little antsy by the end, and then Deadpool really turns to camera and says, "We're almost done here." And it's like, okay, phew.
Homestretch, folks.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Mhm.
And again, it speaks to me as a more casual fan of this stuff, not caring at all.
Sure.
And so I think that the film does a good job at least servicing a crowd like me. Whereas I think we're getting so like Ouroboros Marvel shit that like
it's a character name in Loki, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
of
like
course
Ke
it
Kwan's
is.
character.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, then that's cool.
Yeah, he's funny. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm somewhere between you two.
Yeah.
On that point.
Sure.
Insofar as like the other because there's other multiverse stories in the MCU.
Yeah.
Of course.
I would say that this one is more effective to me than
It's almost not a multiverse story.
Yeah.
The multiverse element of this film is that the TVA and ending timelines is a thing. Not that, I mean, well, there are like a bunch of other Deadpools, but it's not really about all
because
of that.
the plot line, the emotional thread of previous multiverse stories being Multiverse of Madness and Loki, and then Spider-Man has always been like like what could have been, the possibilities, regretting your past, making peace with the life you have.
Yeah.
That's not what this film is about, and this is an issue that an issue or whatever. There's a line towards the beginning of this film wherein Deadpool is speaking to Happy Hogan, and I feel is sort of is emblematic of my feelings on the entire sort of like themes of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
The line is, if you shoot for the middle, you'll never miss.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like Deadpool and Wolverine is doing. It is not going for some big emotional, heart-swelling moment. It is heroes matter. Deadpool wants to matter. And that is something that I feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, we've already sort of hashed over in the previous two Deadpool films, but metatextually it is saying, superheroes still matter. Superhero movies can still be important. Superhero stories can still be important to you, audience member, dear viewer. They can still matter to you because these characters you love and you recognize and so on and so forth. So I wasn't exactly taken by the emotion or the themes of Deadpool and Wolverine, if you can believe it.
Sure.
I felt them a little middling when we could have had the opportunity to say something a little broader about superheroes with Deadpool and Wolverine being in the position that it's in, having Deadpool being a fourth wall breaking character who has made comments and will continue to make comments on the superhero genre as a whole in superhero movies. It just felt like we didn't want to broach that topic at all. In any serious manner, so we shot for the middle.
So we had this debate partially in the movie theater, and let's do it again because I think it's very interesting, the whole conversation and the whole positioning of Deadpool and Wolverine. Because would I be right in thinking that part of your issue is that the idea that like the thesis of superheroes still matters like a commonly treaded ground? It's not interesting anymore.
It felt like this is ground we've gone over. The more in-story stuff of like, you matter because of the people in your life. That's who you got to focus on saving. That's what makes your life worth living. And it's perfectly fine fodder for any movie, let alone a superhero movie. But it's well-trodden ground nonetheless.
I mean, it sort of dovetails nicely with like fucking Inside Out 2.
Yeah.
It's platitudinal in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I think where I come at it is that I think that it's okay to like something that is not super meaningful.
Okay.
And in my opinion, Deadpool and Wolverine is an assertion of the fact that comic books are a lower art, but that's not a bad thing. And so I found it quite compelling how this to me felt like an encapsulation of like 20 years of effort, pretty much.
Maximum effort, maybe.
Thank you very much.
Maybe.
And so the movie is very meta, obviously. It obviously is breaking the fourth wall as like a character conceit. But as you're saying, Tanner, the whole movie, you called it in the theater like a chess piece in this larger Disney v audience battle.
That's right. I called it an essential move on the chessboard of Disney trying to hang on to the reins of the MCU. Is like, guys, we are not done yet. You cannot disengage from the genre. We have so many more Avengers movies and X-Men movies to do yet.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's important to say it's okay to still like this stuff. And now I understand. We're getting into is Disney my friend? Is Wolverine my fucking counselor?
Yeah,
territory,
is he my
right?
buddy?
Is he my bud?
Is your bub?
My bub,
Yeah,
right?
my
Sorry.
bubby.
Yes.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm easily manipulated, but I found the...
Oh, I know that.
I've manipulated you many a time.
I found the X-Men and other Marvel properties like behind the scenes footage montage, like a Jackie Chan fails montage.
Yeah,
over the
set to Green Day's Good Riddance. Yeah.
Yes. Again, it's very obvious, but to me the film does a nice job of saying, look at what happened in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the shit we forgot about, but that is meaningful to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the cynical rating is, yes, love this. You see a thing and you recognize it, you love it,
of
you
course.
love it. Here's a thing you recognize.
That is the surface level, like, cynical read of course.
And it's very like Disney adult of me to say that it's nice for this film to affirm that it's okay to be excited by that.
Uh-huh.
But I also think that there's an earnestness to this film, squaring with the fact that its audience are like jangly keys.
Yeah.
And to me, this is saying there's a little bit more to the keys. These are people that have invested 2 decades of their career into these characters and these storylines, and that wasn't all just a waste.
Yeah, I think I side a lot more with Abram on this, and I think that it's because I was waiting for MCU storytelling. Even though I have enjoyed the last few, I've been so disconnected from my passion for for superhero movies over the last year that I was waiting for something to sort of pull me back in with a little bit more earnestness, as you were saying. And I think that this again ties back into my thought of this movie feeling surprisingly focused. Is I really appreciated that this movie was much more about Deadpool's internal arc and the arc of this Wolverine, who's the worst Wolverine, and he feels like he needs to, like, he doesn't have a way in his life because he's lost everything, he's lost his way. I appreciate that it was a lot more like character focused in that way, and we get like a surprisingly good solid handful of scenes that are just sitting down and like talking. And my problem with so many of especially event Marvel movies is that they're so go. We never get the breathing time to sit down and see what's going on in the characters' heads, and we get a couple of those.
Well,
here.
we literally get to see what's going on in their
True,
heads.
yeah, and I actually think that that's a good way to sort of contextualize this within the sci-fi wackiness of the villain, but still have those scenes be much slower and more contemplative and get us into the minds of the characters. And that's why I like these movies, because they're about characters I find interesting. And then there's also the nonsense going on. And I think this movie strikes a surprisingly good balance. I don't think it's perfect in it, but when we were sitting down, like having the scene of what Deadpool sitting in like the cafe or Logan by the campfire, and I'm like, no, like these guys, I like these guys. I like these characters. I think their performances are nailing it. And I like that we're being given these chances to just talk to the characters. Yeah. And that really, really worked for me.
What I'll say about that is I didn't feel like there were any more moments of that kind of stuff than there is in any other Marvel movie. I think that the beats and the story pacing sort of lines up in any handful of recent MCU entries or older ones as well. I think as there's a certain house style with storytelling. Kevin Feige was still a producer on this. He's like,
of course
we take a break in between the action sequences. We do 2 minutes of X-23's in this movie. They confirm that in the most recent trailer, and we do her and Wolverine talking, or we do Deadpool and Wolverine talking as there is a number of them a couple times.
They talk a couple times.
They talk a couple times in this film. They also fight a couple times, and the fights are obviously given more time than the dialogue sequences are, because this is above all else an action adventure film.
Yeah. Let me say something mean.
Okay. Towards me?
No, not no, not towards either of you.
Damn. Well, I can take it.
To me, it's like you can basically take the same like idea, like character ideas and arcs from this movie as you can from like Rebel Moon.
Yeah. Okay. That is quite mean. Quite condemning of this film. Some may say.
Here's my opinion.
All right.
And again, I look down. I'm not wearing my glasses right now, but if I was, I often look down my nose at superhero movies.
Okay.
I will never be able to like get out catharsis about the time of my life that I lost to COVID through the blip. It's never gonna happen. Mm-hmm. And a big problem that I've had with a lot of Marvel films is that they want to be more prescient than I think they're capable of, and that's partially, in my opinion, a commentary on the genre, but it's partially a commentary on the creative parameters within which these stories are told. So to me, I don't want that from my Marvel movies. I also don't like Deadpool. To me, I'm never going to empathize with. And again, it's just me as an audience member. Not that I think I have a great opportunity to, when essentially he's like unfulfilled. Like I watched The Incredibles recently. Like, is that not really the same thing that Mr. Incredible feels?
Yeah.
It's very archetypal storytelling.
Sure.
That's why I find myself more interested in this meta narrative.
Yeah.
And I like these characters as dolls, which again I don't think is bad. And I feel like sometimes we say these things in like a more condemnatory way than I mean. But as action figures, Wolverine and Deadpool are awesome. They're performed by really talented guys. The choreography is really good. I can enjoy them on that level. And then I feel like I can take this meta reading out of the film. I feel like if I were to lose the meta reading, I would lose a lot of what I find compelling about this movie, because I think that the character work is just so simple.
No, of course,
that
absolutely,
it wouldn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I was just surprised that it was in there.
Sure.
Like I thought that this was going to be 2 hours of cameo, and there is a solid chunk of cameos in the middle. I think they're actually handled a lot better than I was expecting. But I was expecting there to be no like emotional arc or narrative for Deadpool as a character. I think those were probably in those first two movies. I don't remember them at all, but I was really just expecting this to be kind of what the trailers were showing, which is just all go, it's all slow-mo action sequences, and it's not all that, which is, and I felt like that really brings the movie up and makes it feel more earnest, as you were saying.
Perhaps I had a higher opinion of Deadpool and Wolverine going in because I'm like, that's what happens in these superhero movies. They are fights and cameos, and then we do some emotional storytelling. Obviously these films are not so inept that they're like, well, why do we need an emotional arc for our characters? They're not there yet. I'll say that. What I will say, and this is going back to Abrams' previous comment about characters or actors giving 20 years of their life to a character. Particularly Hugh Jackman is the only one in this cast who has given that long of time to a character here. My issue has never been with those actors. It's more with I'll try to phrase this. It's more with the creators of this who it's talking specifically about Deadpool and Wolverine, because it brings up the film Logan a lot as this. We're putting that on a pedestal. The good one is essentially what that is. Yeah. The send-off for the character. And this film literally opens with Deadpool digging up that Logan's grave. We are actively engaging with the fact that we are playing with that legacy. We are, in some cases, beating it with a shovel. Yeah. And using its bones to kill TVA agents or whatever. But to your point, Abram, about how this film is saying, no, it's okay to like the superhero movies, it's okay to like your action figures. I have no issue with that. But to say that as an excuse for, well, why does it need to strive for more? Why does it doesn't need to do that? Because I think there are good examples of films in the X-Men, if we're only engaging with the 20th Century Fox thing, films in the X-Men chronology that do that. There's really rich thematic material in the first couple X-Men movies. How about it's engaging with the X-Men's what they stand for and whatever. Logan, of course, those things exist, and it feels like we're taking an easy way out with the storytelling and also the themes of Deadpool and Wolverine.
I don't agree with that, and I think that I don't agree with that because this is the movie where the thematic storytelling is about the meta narrative. It's not about the political problems of mutants and how that mirrors discrimination or whatever. There are these moments, these storytelling beats in other Marvel movies, like Trauma and Iron Man 3. I think there are things, and Logan is full of those different moments. But I think that the effort and what I think this movie is necessary for, or why I'm glad it went this way, is that it's not about that. It's about the history of the genre specifically. And I don't think it's a cop-out to say it doesn't strive for more, because what it strives for is what you're talking about, is this commentary about the history of the genre and literally bringing back these actors and giving them their send-offs in a way that I thought really, really worked for No Way Home, and I think works here. And I think that especially in the Reverence, it still plays some jokes, but the reverence that it has for the Fox universe and adjacent other miscellaneous mid-2000s superhero movies that are on the whole, very bad films.
Yes.
And I've seen all of them, and I do not enjoy them, and I think that they're bad. But the fact is that there is still there's still a little bit of care that was put into those, and there still is a reverence that people have for them. And I like that they were able to look back and say, look, all these dumb things, bad things happened. These were not very good movies. But, yeah, okay, Elektra is bad, but Jennifer Garner's a good actress. Let's give her a send-off here. Let's bring back Blade. Let's give give Channing Tatum a chance to be Gambit.
Yes.
There is this earnestness to it that I think shows like an appreciation, and that is, I think, that's to your point. I think what the value of this film is.
I mean, here's the way I look at it is, to me, there's no hierarchy. Like Logan, the Dark Knight, the Batman, a lot of this stuff is put on a pedestal as superior because it is. I'm being reductive, but it's very good filmmaking, but it's also more serious. It's more adult.
Yeah,
it's
Batman v
dark.
Superman.
It's darker.
Yes.
I think that this movie's a lot like Batman vs Superman.
Okay.
Because to me, the way to
Tracks.
Oh boy.
the way to legitimize. Well, I'll put it to you this way. I think that the comic book genre has already been legitimized. But hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on. The legitimacy is there, and the legitimacy is there in part because of films like The Dark Knight, right?
Yeah.
But I just feel like that's not the only way to tell one of these stories, and Logan is great, but this isn't Logan, and I don't think it's lesser of an artistic ambition to make a film that is less thematically meaningful. When I think that, to Tucker's point, the easy version of Deadpool and Wolverine is, oh, how stupid was Elektra? How stupid was all of this stuff?
Yeah.
But they don't do that.
We're still engaging with that in the humor, though. Like, outside of let's give these characters a send-off, which can be countered with, well, it's a cameo fest.
Yeah.
What is this film saying about those movies? What is this film engaging with the chronology of the genre? What is it saying about all of that?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Like, I can only think of a Devil May Cry example, so this isn't helpful.
All right.
But it's very easy, if in growing pains, to say, oh, that stuff in the past, that sucked. Or even think about the way that Deadpool 1, if I'm remembering right, this is like repressed memory.
There's a joke about the X-Men
the
characters.
zipped up lips.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Deadpool.
Oh, yes, of course.
That's not really what this movie is, I don't think. I
agree.
And I think it's interesting whether you think it's manipulative and very corporate, because I think that's a fair reading. That it's cool to say, like, hey, yeah, this, like, Elektra might suck, but Elektra is revered because it sucks.
Yeah.
In part because it has a place in the history of a genre that is being treated as a fad. I think the film is a lot more interested in not just treating these as throwaways. To me, the material in this movie that works the least, well, the material that actually works the least is like the weird anti-woke stuff, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. But we should move off of this one. But I think it's an important one.
It is. It is what the movie is about. So I think it's the most important point. But to me,
I also think it's the most interesting conversation you can have about this film.
I agree. Like, I don't think that the jokes that are like, oh, the multiverse hasn't been working out for us, or, oh, our recent Marvel movies have been bad, like, to me that doesn't work. Because it's like, how can these people say that in any way that's not just trying to paper it over? Like, oh, we get it too.
Yeah.
To me, that's ingenuine. I think that it's way more genuine for people who own this shit, the writer's room at Marvel, to say, actually, we're gonna own Elektra as part of our history, and we're gonna bring this character back, and that's better than me saying, oh, you know what, the Marvels was bad, guys, we know it. To me, that's totally like meaningless.
I mean, this is the last thing I'll say on it. Is you bring up the writers' room and you say that they own it. I was like, the writers of this film don't own it. It's the producer, a Kevin Feige production, is the owner of this, and he's been on board since the very first X-Men movie. And he's ridden this thing to where it is right now. He's taken it to the heights, and now he's on a rocky part of the road right now. And for me, it's just like, it's just more entertaining when he, like, you know, lets a little air out of the bag a little bit.
Yeah.
Where he's like, multiverse stuff isn't working, or, you know,
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes, I thought you were retired. We'll talk about it. Don't worry. But, you know, and all the jokes that, like, about how Gambit never got to come to fruition or whatever. Like, these films, as you said, have been legitimized, have made billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. They've been nominated for Oscars. They've been nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much more reverential we need to get of this stuff.
Well, the difference for me, and we're not getting off this point yet.
Okay,
I don't
all
think
right.
it's too late. The movies that are up there are Joker, and they're The Dark Knight, and they're all this stuff. Those are the lauded ones.
Yeah.
I think that there's a difference between saying that stuff is great, that's legitimized stuff, and this stuff. The reason that I say this and Batman vs. Superman are similar to me, even though I think Batman vs. Superman is a significantly better film, is that to me they both own comic books. They own the spirit of this, and they don't play anything cheap.
Yeah.
Except for when it does, and I think that, and we just see it differently, I think, on what we see as cheap.
Yeah.
But to me, I just think that there is an importance in that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to meet in the middle with both of you. I am I'm a fence sitter. I'm the middleman.
mediator.
I'm the middleman here on the camera, center
that's
frame.
true. Yeah.
Because I think,
War.
and I'm just in the middle like,
We could just give it both a kiss.
Ooh,
yeah.
I see.
it'd be like a Deadpool joke,
It would be like,
like
Deadpool joke.
kissing people.
Yeah, like kissing people.
I think that this is what Deadpool and Wolverine needed to be.
Okay.
In terms of the reverence for the past and not playing those jokes, but not playing them on the, I think, too easy side. But I also think it's necessary and makes a lot of sense for this movie to be doing the, MCU was recently bad, and the multiverse hasn't been working out, and TVA jokes and Thor jokes and Logan jokes and these things.
X-Men movies weren't very good towards the end.
That is
all
not
stuff.
only what Deadpool, the movies were when they were making fun of Green Lantern and making fun of X-Men Origins and making fun of the dumb parts of the original trilogy and stuff like that. I do actually think that it's a little bit of a missed opportunity to make more like New Mutants and Dark Phoenix jokes, because those are ripe.
But who remembers that? Who remembers those movies?
That's
frankly?
true. That's true. But it also, I think, for me, just feels like the realization of the comics. And our friend Sam, who walked out of the film with us, was talking about how this was one of the most comics accurate movies he's seen, and I have to agree in that the way that they talk about Disney owning Fox and Disney having, you can't talk about cocaine, and talking about the production realities of these things in a joking way, and critiquing the fact that things haven't quite worked out for Marvel recently, and that there were these bad movies, and that all of these issues. That is exactly what Deadpool was for the comics.
Yep.
And you can easily say, and I think you can make a very solid case for, okay, but it's still created within the, they have to okay these things.
Yes,
and
that's always been the criticism of the Deadpool
but
movies. It comes off as a little ineffectual because it still is an approved product from an IP.
Yeah, I think that is reasonable, but it's certainly not something that I agree with, because it's like, well, they're still saying it, and that's still an admission, and it still sets it apart from the other movies. And again, for this as a Deadpool adaptation, which it is, those are the kind of things that I want from the character, that I frankly wanted a little more out of She-Hulk, because there were those moments that were fun in She-Hulk, this, I think, takes it, and not all of them work, but I think that is a big part of the identity of this film, is the idea, the fact that we're able to have this meta commentary, and also I think in this, a similar way that, and I think a much better way, but the way that No Way Home acted as finalizations of those character arcs and referenced past things, and was able to reference elements of superhero film history and stuff. I think that these films, I think they stand as an important part of the growth of this genre, to be able to make that commentary back. And it's Ouroboros-ing, but that's how genres evolve, and I find that very, very fascinating. And I think this film does that very well, especially as someone who's tuned in to the MCU, and I was not confused by the TVA stuff and seeing Goliath, and then the fact that the Void has all these different crashed bits of Marvel history and things. I'm like, this is what they needed to do. This is a culmination of all this stuff. People understand it. It's more mainstream now. You're able to reference Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, and I think it pays off. I think these jokes and I think the tone of this film feels genuine and also just like an interesting like stamp or end cap on like, yeah, we've been doing this for 25 fucking years.
Let's talk about those cameos.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say this. It's an aside, and you guys don't agree, but I want to put it on camera anyway.
Alright,
I just
here we
think this is a more effective way to do this whole conceit than No Way Home. I just think because here's the thing about No Way Home. The No Way Home is about it's just pulling levers. That's one lever pulled after another. Just pulling levers. You know, you remember Green Goblin? Pull a lever.
We don't need to get into it. We don't need to get into. Oh my god!
But here's what's interesting about this movie.
Okay, buddy.
Here's what's interesting about this movie.
And it's not the case here.
because if you don't, because in No Way Home, if you don't care about like is Shocker in that movie?
No. Electro is.
Thank you. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes.
You have to care about Electro to like that movie.
What are you talking about? Absolutely not.
No, he's a bit character. He's fucking like 6th down the list.
Then maybe it's Ock and Doc Ock and.
But you like Doc Ock.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the difference.
Yes.
To me, No Way Home operates by bringing back characters
right,
that everybody knows, that everybody is going to clap for.
It's too obvious. It's a
not-
low-hanging fruit.
No, it's not that it's too...
Let him finish.
It's
Let
not
him
that
finish.
it's too
Let
obvious.
him finish this bad point.
But I think it's interesting that Deadpool and Wolverine is like you understand how much shit you have to know to understand why the Gambit thing is
Yeah, of
funny.
course.
That's fair.
Absolutely.
You have to because he was never in a movie. You have to know like the production and the failed production and the headlines.
It's like the
behind
Nick Cage Superman thing from The Flash.
Exactly.
But no, I'm not saying that No Way Home is low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You said that.
thought it was implied.
I'm saying that if we're saying that,
Yeah.
Gambit is a higher hanging fruit.
I would agree.
it has a higher level of entry to get the joke.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
and maybe that is feeding into what you're saying. 100%. Because you have to know all this shit. You have to be such a big fan. You're basically being rewarded for like reading The Hollywood Reporter.
Absolutely.
But you're being rewarded. Please, you're being rewarded for reading Screen Rant.
for reading Reddit.
Yeah.
And I guess to me that's just like a little bit more exciting. So let's think about the cameos.
Okay. So we talked about Gambit. I like the Gambit stuff.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Maybe it's because I get my cookie points for knowing that,
Yeah.
knowing all the failed attempts at making a Gambit movie or a Gambit on the X-Men team or whatever. But like, Channing Tatum, clearly he wanted to be this character so bad. He reportedly perfected the Cajun accent, which is poked at fun at a lot in this movie. To good end, I would say.
Because Channing Tatum's the perfect guy to do that.
Yeah.
Because he has such a I think charmingly self-deprecating sense of humor. Like he just seems like a very honest guy who's able
But
to take
like,
the shit.
He's like a meathead kind of
Yeah.
guy. It's kind of his presence in movies when he's working the best. And so when you take the air out of the bag a little bit, it works just fine. And you get to see Gambit doing the card thing. So like there's cookie
And it's
points
cool.
there.
It is cool.
Yeah.
I think that the Johnny Storm thing doesn't really work for me.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, it was so glaringly obvious that Tucker had this pegged, months and months, maybe even a year in advance, that this was going to happen. We were going to get Chris Evans. It was going to be like, oh, maybe he's going to like be Captain America and Johnny Storm. But no, what they opt for is they think he's Captain America, but really he's Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
Really, he's the Human Torch. And like, he doesn't get to do anything, really. He gets like his fire sucked out of him.
Yeah. But I actually think that that's, to the movie's
course.
credit, I think that is a good thing.
I'm not
because,
complaining that like my action figure didn't to do his thing.
Yeah. He did his thing for a little bit, and then it was like, well, he's kind of inept, and whatever. This version of Johnny Storm... What?
We're saving that for Secret Wars, folks.
Oh, I mean, I think that's very possible.
Yeah.
But I really liked it.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that he's only there for 5 minutes is pretty funny. I think that the fact that they have a really good payoff at the end for that
I like the post-credits scene a
is
lot.
really, really good. And the fact that this is the kind of thing that really, to the other cameos we're going to talk about, is paying homage to the history of this. It is Chris Evans is famous because he played Captain America. He's not famous because he played Johnny Storm.
No.
He's famous to me for that.
What?
That and Lightyear. That's what I know best
Yeah.
for.
Well, Abrams is just a big fan of Fantastic Four Johnny Storm. He's replicating the look, obviously, with the shaved head.
Yeah.
I've never seen this.
That's
Oh,
the
okay.
exact haircut that Chris
he's
Evans
really?
has.
Yeah, he's got the
Johnny
crew
Storm.
cut or whatever.
Yeah. But I really did think it worked, and I thought that especially because he is Captain America, and they do the whole build up, and it's like, okay, you kind of hear his voice and you see the arm, and then you got the blue and a little bit of red, and I'm like, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I think the reason it doesn't work for me, and this is a larger point, I'm getting us away from the cameos, so
It's
but...
because the fruit's too low.
Yeah.
No, actually, kind of. Here's the thing. I like nutsack jokes sometimes, right?
We make plenty of them. We're not going to deny that.
I sent Tucker a picture of a contemplative horse wearing a business suit sitting on his giant nutsack.
You did say
on
that.
WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I sent a picture of the dual sense of the nutsack.
You
the
did.
other day.
Yeah.
I'm noticing a pattern.
Wait a second.
But that's
What does this say about your psyche?
but that's more subversive.
Oh, I see.
My problem. The reason I had such low expectations for Deadpool 3, Deadpool
Yes.
and Wolverine, in case people are confused,
Yeah, which movie we're talking about?
is that to me Deadpool's sort of brand of humor is just it is low hanging fruit.
It's sophomoric. That's like
Yeah,
his whole. It's
yeah.
toilet humor. It's look at my balls. What I always
it's
go
ball
to.
humor. It's ass humor.
Uh-huh.
It's cum humor. It's
Drug humor.
It's drug
I have
humor.
all kinds of sex. I do drugs. Yeah,
There's one good sex joke in the movie though.
These are things we can't relate to.
Yes, correct.
Which is why we do not find them funny.
And so to me, like Johnny Storm does exist in large part to set up a really protracted punchline of, and I get it's funny because again, this is more you have to be such a loser to understand this. But Chris Evans as Captain America says language and it's a meme.
Yeah. And so he's got obviously this character. The payoff is he's got a big potty mouth at the end.
He's got a big potty mouth, but I just and it's subjective, but that sort of humor doesn't work for me, and that's why of the whole pie that is
Unless you find it on Twitter.
Unless it's like a horse or something. But to me that just doesn't work because they also go for it so much. It's not just one coke joke. It's like here's a dozen names for cocaine.
Yeah.
Or like here's balls, nuts, scrotum, fucking testes. You know.
Right. So speaking of Twitter humor, I feel like we should talk about it. I teased it a little earlier. A cameo that I frankly did not expect is Wesley Snipes as Blade.
Yeah, that
in
wasn't
this film.
teased as far as I know.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
He returns, and as many people thought, Deadpool makes a joke about how he thought that Wesley Snipes was retired, and Wesley Snipes back with maybe he misunderstood Deadpool. Snipes back with a little word that I'm not gonna say. Sounds like retired is all I will say, and I'm not gonna lie, I laughed a lot.
You guys
I was
laughed
crying.
so long.
Yes.
I was crying.
I
Laughed for so
tried
long.
to retain my composure, like probably 2 or 3 times while the scene was continued, and I could not. Because it comes so fucking out of the blue. It's his first line. You're not expecting Wesley Snipes to show up. Wesley Snipes already has like a sort of infamous aura about him with the character of Blade, so that's all playing in your mind if you're a big nerd like us. That's all playing in your mind. Wesley Snipes is like a meme figure because he like almost went to jail for tax fraud and everything. And then his first line out of the gate is the R slur, and you're so taken away. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the funniest joke in the movie.
It's the funniest fucking thing in the entire movie. It's crazy. And as I was reflecting, I was like, who wrote that? There's someone that's a written exchange. It's definitely not improv. Like, who the fuck wrote that? It's fucking crazy to me that that's in this movie. I'm not gonna lie.
The other joke, that's the biggest laugh for me in the movie. By far. It's the biggest laugh of the year for me by far. I was crying.
Oh, God.
But it's interesting that the humor is so hit or miss. It's almost like they were like, we need every type of humor in this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
It's true.
And I don't really think that works. And there's a number of jokes that like threw up a flag for me.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
There's
And those I think are actually my least favorite parts of the movie.
I think so,
because
too.
I think I might have mentioned this earlier. Or at least I was thinking in my head. I was watching the movie. I'm like, this is going down pretty smooth.
Yeah.
I'm into this scene flow.
No-
I'm into
not a
the
lot of bumps for
characters.
you,
And I was surprised by that because I thought that this was going to be a lot more brash than it ended up being. But the fact that they tried to cover all their bases for humor is, I think, for me, the most apparent thing of like, we really want this to hit home for everyone in some way.
We're trying to rake in $1 billion here,
Yes,
folks.
and they're going to. And I think that this is obviously a way to reach that, of make sure we're not alienating any one audience. We're bringing in the jokes that are making fun of people that are too serious, or people that are older, or people that are, that don't want like gay sex and things to happen. We're making fun of those people, but then we're also doing like. We're doing doing Twitter humor sort of thing.
Yeah, we're doing
humor.
Let this man cook, take this L. The jokes that we were talking about earlier, just a second ago, by the way, are Deadpool like, oh, the woke mob's gonna get you.
Yeah.
There's a whole bit about how he's gender blind.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the humor is where it's most obvious, because there's this the intro credit for the writers is like 7 people long. There's fucking a billion ampersands on the screen at that point. I think you can feel it, because it is weird. Like, if you just look at the film, to the right wing grifters, this is a woke movie to some extent. There's women, there's all these women.
It's a multicultural cast.
Yes.
I mean, the main villain is portrayed by Emma Corrin, who is non-binary.
Yeah, I mean, the film is very progressive, but then I don't know if they felt like, to get everybody in the theater, we have to be like, yeah, isn't like gender complicated, or isn't aren't the woke people gonna get you, or shouldn't we just say a slur?
Also, Deadpool gets pegged in Deadpool 2 and references that in Deadpool 3 and is canonically pansexual and all this stuff. So I know it's again, as you guys said, it's trying to hit all the bases. It's trying to, it doles out a couple coins for the people who are like, haha, woke mob.
Yeah.
I mean, what they're trying to do is they're trying to spin. It's like the political compass has become demagnetized, so it's just spinning constantly.
It doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
It's like one of those kids' toys where you spin the thing that lands like a cow noise or like a duck noise.
That's more in line with the intellectualism of the woke mob believers. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I get it, and I don't need every film I watch to be a message movie. But it is
not even Deadpool and Wolverine.
Are you sure?
But it is just I just think it's weird that they wrote it this way.
It is weird because it's inconsistent. To your point, this movie is progressively cast, and it is created in the Disney mindset of we're going to represent a lot of things, but we're not going to draw too much attention to it. But then it also has these things. It's not a big enough issue for me, but those were the moments of the movie where I was like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. It was like, really?
Why that one?
Yeah, why that one? But I found a lot of this movie to be funny, and I think that is because most of the humor, I don't care about dick jokes, butt jokes. There's obviously a lot of that in this movie. I think there are some that are funny. I think there's some that are not. It really is it's a rapid fire machine gun approach of we're gonna hope that once every 60 seconds you're laughing.
Yeah,
and because we're gonna have 3 jokes once every minute, and hope that 1 out of the 3, 30% about, is gonna hit you. And that's what you gotta do when you're making a movie that is this fast paced, this colorful and varied in its comedic inspirations, and then also trying to approach everyone.
Yeah, it's not clever. It's a scattershot approach.
Yeah.
It's we're just hoping that one of these jokes will clip you in the right way.
I just think that I will I just will never forget laughing at the tucking your measly pud joke from Drive Away Dolls.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I just don't think that it
Yeah.
I don't think that really much in here is on that level at all. And again, it's not trying to be. That Drive Away Dolls is a very different movie than Deadpool
if you can believe
Wolverine.
it, the Deadpool and Wolverine is not as well written as a Coen movie.
Yeah.
If you can
But
believe it.
I really do think there is actually a good amount of really solid humor in here.
Yeah.
I think about, I was getting a lot of chuckles in the suit up scene when the guy's making the thing for him and he keeps slapping his ass, just like boop, 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 boop,
Well,
boop, 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 boop.
that's one of the ones that is. Here's my thing with this too, because that's in the trailer, and a lot of times what you'll do, especially with Deadpool movies or comedy movies in general, is that you will have those ones in the trailer, and if you're smart as a producer or whatever, or a director or an editor, you will use different takes, different versions of the joke in the actual movie to keep it fresh. No. The whole bit about the Colombian marching powder or whatever, or the ass grabbing and stuff like that, or a couple others are just
Marvel Jesus
are in the trailer and they are in the movie. And for that reason, I'm like, I've seen this trailer a dozen times. I'm not going to laugh at this joke again.
So. It's interesting because I was thinking about it as I was watching it, and I am Marvel Juice. I was quoting it in my head. And actually, there was a couple of those moments where, like, we've known the lines so well because we've seen the trailer. People were quoting them in the theater. Like, obviously, I heard Sam next to me, like, whisper it or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, okay, I'm watching this movie opening night. I wish it was a different take. I wish it had been edited slightly differently so it hit me.
Yeah,
and, like,
differently.
And so I was able to, like, experience... Because it's not a bad joke. It's not a good joke. It's just totally fine.
Yeah,
the air's taken out of it because we've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, yes, it's for the opening night, but also, like... over time, most people who watch this movie are not going to have seen the trailer so many times. So I'm like, it's a take it or leave it thing for me.
Yeah, the payoff to it when he walks out and he's like, "Your Taylor is a predator, by the way."
That's a good joke.
I like that.
I also really, really, really like the joke of when Nice Pool is like, I can break the fourth wall too, and it just says
the proposal.
The proposal.
I like that, and I also like
because it hangs on it. It does hang on for just a second.
I also like the joke that's very soon after that when he gets riddled with bullets and he's like, "Don't worry, buddy, you have the healing factor." He's like, "Healing factor?"
What do you mean?
That was really funny.
and it's like you're right, Tucker. The jokes are flying so fast that the laughs per like the number of times I laugh is probably not too dissimilar from a lot of other films, but you know you're just shooting a lot of free throws.
You're shooting a lot of free throws here.
But I just think to like
if you shoot 4,000 times to the moon, one of them is probably gonna
That's
hit.
right. If you shoot for the middle.
I just think about like some of my favorite recent comedies, Drive Away Dolls or Bottoms, which I fucking love. I mean, I was laughing at Bottoms till I was dying.
It's the cleverness
Those are woke
factor.
jokes.
They were.
That's true.
That is true.
Deadpool and Wolverine is not a especially clever film. It is, like I said, the scattershot approach. We're going to hit you with so many Deadpool branded jokes that like maybe one of these will clip you every few minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway. Elektra's in this movie too. We didn't mention that, but
we did.
Oh, we did. Okay. I guess we talked about it.
X-23 is interesting because
X-23.
I totally find that she's in here. I like that she is able to bring a little bit of personality and connection to the Logan that we have in this film because he's an interesting character in that this is not a character we've ever been introduced to before, this version of Logan, but we're also able to bring all of the preconceived notions we have about Wolverine to it. I think it actually does play a solid middle in a way that I like think back to like Guardians 3 and that Gamora was like kind of hit or miss. I think it worked some ways, it didn't. I think this Logan works very, very well. And I think that again, it's because this movie is written for the people that know the comic stuff and they know they've seen the movies and they know what the TVA is and they remember all the X-Men movies and they when we say Charles, we know we mean Charles Xavier. All these things. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
And so it works for me.
You're that guy, pal.
He's that guy, pal.
I am. But Laura's interesting because she's kind of a non-starter for this movie.
Yeah, she gets treated like the rest of the cameos, except she gets one scene where she talks with Logan, and that scene is like, "Hey, buddy, you're not that bad after all."
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna walk away.
But also, I want you to think back.
Okay.
She's the only one that we can assume will be continued forward.
True.
Because she is with Logan and Wade at the end. It's like, oh, this is my big family and even some new friends. And it's not like they're keeping around Jennifer Garner and Wesley Snipes.
No,
it's
absolutely
just
not.
It's just Laura Kinney. And so I wish that they'd given her a little bit more to work with in this film. I like Daphne Keane a lot in Logan.
Yeah, me too.
I think she's totally fine here, but
She's
she
not
doesn't
given. She's not given any
she's
material.
not given anything. It's just a weird balance where I'm like, okay, I'm interested to see what they do with her in the future, and I want to kind of end on this. This movie did and again, this is coming back to this surprising me in how focused it was and how it didn't take what I guess I would see as the easy way out of making this like a massive, like truly event film.
Yeah.
Like it's not the timeliney stuff that we might have expected, or like expected out of Multiverse of Madness or something, or like moments of No Way Home. I was honestly expecting timeline ends, Deadpool and Wolverine crash into New York. We do a Endgame greatest hits of Marvel movie moments. We visit all these characters. We get. I was expecting like Ant-Man characters to show up and more characters from other movies. They stick to Fox in this. And I think that is interesting. And then also what I was trying to get at is we don't know where this goes in the future. This is only, in the most basic sense, setting up for that Deadpool, Wolverine, and I guess X-23 and Deadpool supporting cast are characters that we can play with in the future.
Yes.
Because they survived. They're a timeline.
Well, Tyler, we do get one note of where this will go in the future, which is at some point in either Avengers 5 or Avengers Secret Wars, Deadpool will be like dying on the ground with Thor there.
A different Thor. That wasn't.
Well, I think it's just Thor.
No, but that wasn't. Was that Chris Hemsworth?
I thought so.
I thought it was.
I thought for a second it was also Luke, but like it was Luke in one, and then in the other shot it looked a lot more like Chris. So
I think it was Luke Hemsworth.
I don't know if it was my mind playing tricks on me, or if it was like deliberately different ones, or what. Because it did look like Luke the first time.
But you're right that that's probably something that will happen. Yeah. But again, I'm saying like. I expected the post-credit scene of this, or the ending sequence of this, to be crashing into the MCU, and we have S.H.I.E.L.D., and we have Nick Fury, and all this shit.
We have to save all of that for Avengers 5 and 6.
We didn't get any of that in this movie.
It's a lot less of a gratuitous film than I thought it was going to be. I thought that in terms of cameos.
Yeah.
What about every other part of the movie?
Like, I was almost thinking to myself, like, oh, that's all the cameos we're going to get?
Exactly. Yeah.
And maybe that's just because, again, I had constructed this movie to be something in my head that I was going to hate. And it ended up not being that. Yeah. I also, just as a sidebar, only learned like 2 days ago that Daphne Keane plays Jackie.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
What the fuck is that?
She's a character in The Acolyte.
Oh.
Yeah.
Big year for her.
Big year for her.
Well, kind of, I guess.
The Acolyte and Deadpool and Wolverine combined will make $1 billion.
And have 1 billion views.
1 billion views.
I just have a couple scattershot thoughts.
Lay them on.
I don't like the needle drops.
No, they're not very
drops
good.
Are bad.
Yeah, I mean,
they usually felt like out of tone a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's just what happens in the Deadpool movies.
Yeah,
so they just have like the ironic ones. It's like, can you believe we're listening to Madonna right now over this action sequence?
I thought the dog was. I didn't like the dog.
Dog's whatever to me.
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't think I had any other thoughts. Oh, what do you make? The film is obviously marketed very. This is not true.
Okay.
The film was interpreted to be marketed heavily on this like queer baiting thing.
Yeah.
That was like not in the movie at all.
It's like
it's kind of in the. There's a couple of jokes, movie. But like to me, that's like it's a fucking Deadpool movie.
Yeah. To me, it was more just like. I mean, the thing at the end, maybe it's just because I was doing it too, was this, like at the end, ogling Hugh Jackman's Wolverine body.
He looks fucking incredible.
He is, is he pushing 60 at this point?
Easily.
He's incredible. He looks incredible. This may be sacrilegious, and this will get us, this may be get us hate.
Demonetized.
This might get us hate from the hardcore comic fans, but we do get the Wolverine cowl.
It's not great.
I agree. I think
it's the white eyes.
It's the white eyes.
The white eyes kill it because it kills any emotion. It's the problem that bad Batman masks have, where it's like that's not a character.
Yeah, like, I can't see him emoting. The eyes are the window to the soul.
I like the design, like the colors.
Yeah, but
there's someone I forgot to add.
He puts it on, and then like the CGI is already kind of ropey in this, and the film doesn't look good like at all. But like he puts it on, and I'm like, ooh. So that's why they didn't do it for 25 years. Yeah. Ooh.
It looks like a fan film. It looks like a Star Wars fan film to me. I think it looks really, really bad. I mean, you're right, Tanner. We should probably... I mean, the movie just doesn't look good most of the time, I don't think. Especially when we're in the void.
Yes,
which is like
we're in most
of the movie.
Really on the nose.
Yes. Yes.
What? How's it on the nose?
The void, like the CGI green screen.
Oh, I see. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, okay.
Like there's one particular shot where they're
like the volume.
Yeah, where they're in their caravan. They're in their Odyssey. They're in their Honda Odyssey. And it's like this fucking like really wide shot of the Honda Odyssey driving through like a desert. And I'm like, this just looks fucking terrible.
Yeah. There's on the hood note. Of the cowl note. There's a shot where they've walked out, they did it, they saved the day, and he's got the cowl on, no shirt, and then it cuts to a different shot, and it's just off.
Yeah,
like we're not messing with him taking that thing off, having it physically exist in any sense. It is just off his face.
Yeah, The CGI I'm hit or miss on. I think that most of it looked reasonably good. I think there was a couple of moments of bad green screening. It's not like this is a particularly cleverly shot movie or the color grading's great.
It's a Sean Levy film.
But I think, But I do think that in terms of framing for choreography and exciting camera movements and stuff, I thought that it was totally serviceable. And I think the CGI is hit or miss. I think there are some moments of CGI and practical effects and costume effects that are good. But then there are some, like the moment when they exit the bus full of Deadpools and they are standing there and they are the most obviously CGI Hugh Jackman and Deadpool I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like,
big time.
I can't fucking believe that's in this movie right now.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, they exit the thing. It's like, okay, well, they crash through things. We can't quite. It's this weird stunt. So we'll just have it like be a
They
2 seconds.
They just walk around.
They have multiple lines. They stand there and look like. I'm like, no way.
It's rubbery, it's ropey, it doesn't look great.
Devil would make a ropey cum joke if he heard you say that.
Exactly, I'm sure he would. Again, like we didn't talk about like the villains at all. We mentioned Emma Corrin and Matthew McFadden, but like who cares really? Like that's not the movie's not about that. I talked about my issues with the plot line and the pacing already. Like a lot of that drops out and doesn't feel at all important. It's just, oh no, villains got end the timeline thingy.
This is the maybe the best example of an inoffensive backgrounded villain plot.
Yeah,
it is there for them to have a goal. And there's a thing that they call a MacGuffin, and it's gonna end. It's a stakes thing, and Matthew McFadden is kind of funny, and Emma Corrin does a totally serviceable performance. But I'm glad that it's not bad because we have so many of these backgrounded, really dumb, lame villains in superhero movies that take away from the movie. I think that this is in the vein. I don't think it's as good, but I think it's in the vein of why I appreciate Loki so much as a villain in Avengers 1.
Yeah,
because it lets you focus on what you're there for, which is the characters and the cameos and the comedy, especially for Deadpool. But this isn't Malekith. This isn't fucking.
I will say though,
Yellow Jacket.
There's a moment when they have Cassandra Nova, but then they have to like let her go or whatever, and she just decides to let them live arbitrarily, kind of.
And then decides to end the universe anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's bad writing.
That's bad stuff. Scores. Are we anything else? Literally anything else about Deadpool and Wolverine?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
I'm gonna. Well, we're putting this on our UMP rating, right?
That's been.
That was retired like 2 years ago. Yeah. I mean, I can pull up the fucking spreadsheet if you want.
No, we don't need to do this.
Okay.
I'm hungry.
Just give it a number.
I don't know. I'll give it like a. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't have to do it.
No, I don't know.
We got 2. We can average.
Here's what I'll say. When I go on Letterboxd, I'm probably gonna give it like a 3.5 star.
Okay.
And I think 3.5 times 2 is 7. So if I was doing 10 stars,
yes,
I would give it 7s of stars.
Okay.
7s of stars. That's right. That's so true.
Well,
but on my Letterboxd scale, 3.5 stars is pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this very long, and also very like thematically dense and
that's
rich.
That's what we do here, folks.
This was really the quest for.
What do you want us to say? I liked Blade. I liked Johnny Storm. I saw Azrael.
Yeah, I mean, you probably heard me a couple of times. I'm like Azrael, Pyro. Yay!
I saw Toad.
Yay! But no, we've seen it, and that's it.
That's it.
Bye.
You'll see it too, probably.
Morris has been background. Morris, what do you think? Cut to Morris.
Morris wasn't there.
I hated it. I like the woke mob jokes. So you want to see a tattoo of human Shrek with a giant cock?
Yeah. Wow.
And he's even got a tattoo of Fiona.
Oh my god, I wonder if Fiona has a tattoo.
Abram, you want to see a cool tattoo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to see. Did you not hear him tell me what it was?
No, I was pissing. I pissed loudly.
Hello everyone and welcome. What the fuck was
I was
that?
getting ready to the intro.
Sorry.
Because usually Tanner does these. I thought you were doing it, so I thought we were all doing it.
Oh,
Tanner
sure.
does not usually do these.
Well, when Abram and I record, I do them.
And I don't watch you guys' videos.
You son of a bitch. All right, let's do it.
I probably did the intro for 200 movie reviews.
Yeah.
Oh, right, sorry, I forgot. Shit.
Yes.
Shit, I've seen
really.
them all.
Yeah.
I could name all the movies I did reviews for.
Mexican standoff now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel.